Okay, this is something that I did really weird that would be thought of as nothing nowadays, but fast forward, we're 1965 now. I'm at Edwards. My first big project was a stability and control flight test engineer on the XC-142A. Anybody familiar with the 142? Yeah, not many, right? I know. Okay, it had 4 turboprop engines, cross-shafted, and it also had a gearbox going back to a tail propeller. Okay, in hover, this thing would lift up, and the tail propeller, they'd change the pitch on it for pitch control, and they'd change the pitch on the outboard engines for roll control, and they'd wiggle the ailerons for yaw control. Okay, and by the way, a long time, decades later, they developed something called the V-22 in the age of computers and CAD and sophisticated aero design. Well, the guys who are familiar with the 142 are proud to say this was done in the 60s with pencils and French curves and slide rules. This airplane, compared to a V-22, has a bigger cabin, a larger payload. It has a cruise speed of 100 knots faster than the V-22, and it had almost twice the range of a V-22. Duh. And, you know, we didn't have control augmentation in those days. It just had a yaw damper. But this thing with no control augmentation had level 2 flying qualities in hover. It's a neat airplane. I can't find a picture of the model, but I built a model of that in 1965 that was radio controlled. Well, we figured this thing going to be too hard to fly. You know, in those days, there was only a handful of people that were flying RC helicopters. And we're going to build a tilt-wing, hovering, transport RC model. I mean, that was a big deal in those days. By the way, the model was about, I don't know, 7-8 foot span, fuselage kind of like this. I put an engine on the back, no cross-shafting. In those days, nobody had a variable pitch propeller for model airplanes. We just had wooden props. So I had 60s on the inboards, 35s on the outboards, and a 19 in the tail. And I ran the tail engine full blast all the time, creating lift so it would pitch it down. And to make it pitch up, I made a set of louvers that would close under the prop so it would turn the thrust upward to pitch it up. So all I'm working is these louvers, but I'm running the tail motor at full blast. And then we had one guy, keep in mind this before proportional, we're doing this kind of flipping stuff. I saw my transmitter over in a booth over here. It's that 10-channel CG, the blue box. So we had one guy who is in charge of thrust of the inboards, which is hover height. He also had pitch, and he could run the wing tilt up and down. The other guy flew nothing but roll and yaw. Now, I don't know if you've tried this, but it actually works pretty good if you beforehand decide what maneuvers you're going to do. But how many have flown a radio control model that has 2 pilots with one guy flying 2 axis and the other guy flying the other 2 axis? You don't do that, huh? We thought it was a cool idea, but anyway. We did hover it. We never did transition it. We ended up re-kitting it a couple times and gave up.